This is episode 134 of Hebrews in Exile with our honorable teacher, Robert B. Holman Jr. and Sean Appleton. And we are joined by none other than Johann Tate. In this podcast, we are going to discuss something that you may have been thinking about, which is, if we're exiled to a nation, should we be concerned about the politics of that nation that we've been exiled to? May have been something you've been thinking about, maybe not, but we are going to discuss it in this podcast. So sit back and relax. Hebrews in Exile, you know what we do. Let's go!
You make everything right. Give me more power. Give me more love, yeah. Give me more passion.
One of my questions. Do you want me to ask any of the question, or this is a specific question?
Well,
any of the questions I had?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
ask the one.
Ask away. Yeah.
Ask the one that got me revved up.
Okay. I think the question that got you revved up was, yes, why should we
vote for Donald Trump? No.
Exactly. Why should we? And when I say we, especially melanated people, but anyone who feels oppressed by this American society. My question was, since the government gives us the right to abolish it, and the Most High instructs us to follow its laws and decrees over any of the nations that we have been exiled to, why should we feel the need to vote for lesser evils? That was my first question.
Okay, well, first of all, as long as we are living in exile and we have the inalienable right of the freedom to worship as we desire and as we choose to, that right is an inalienable right under a democracy. If that democracy is threatened, then there is the grand possibility that that right could go away to right-wing religious orders and groups. That's one. The laws that have been passed by this nation that we live in does not infringe on our right to follow the dictates and the orders of the Most High. Is it possible that that could go away? Absolutely. If there's no democracy, then we're being ruled by an autocracy, or whatever you want to call it, or a pseudo dictatorship. This nation could very well fall under the same kind of rule that you have in other third world countries, where all of your rights are controlled by a evil dictator. That's my fear. So I pose to you all that the Most High has given us the right to occupy until he exiles us out of this mess. But we're a long ways from there. We're a long ways from that. We look around and we say things are bad. They were bad for our ancestors. But they haven't yet reached the peak of the degree of worse that is recorded in the book of Daniel. We're 9+ years away from that situation. Hundreds.
800-900 years
away from that. The Most High in his word has defined for us what the redemption period is going to look like. We're not there yet. So, since we're not there yet, my posture is listening and having my ear to this political climate. And as I asked you earlier, is it better to have 4 years of corn or 4 years of famine? Which is better? Because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at which is better, which is worse. We can have 4 years of a famine where our families are affected. And while I know that the Most High is able, if he so chooses, but the Most High has also said to us, because you have abdicated my laws, my rules, my statutes, and you've followed after other powers, some of you will die. Mm-hmm. I personally don't see the necessity of there being that kind of trauma upon our people, because I have compassion for our people. So now I have to look at a political party that has more compassion than the other, irrespective if one party is using or living off of or gaining whatever they're gaining from Hebrew Israelites in this exile. At least they're compassionate. So they have food on their table. They have a roof over their head. They're not in the cold. You're going to hear it from me first. You're going to hear, I hope that if this thing goes sideways, I hope y'all pull up this particular podcast and say, Rabbi told us first. If the Donald Trump Republican Party holds the White House, every melanated person in the United States of America is going to suffer. And if you think that homelessness is bad now, people who don't deserve to be homeless are going to be homeless. People who don't deserve to be hungry are going to be hungry. And I'm not talking about people of the nations. I'm talking about Hebrew Israel. So that's my concern. So now I'm looking at a political climate that says to me, well, in the analogy of going to my optometrist and having my eyes checked, she says, is this better? Is this worse? 1, 2, 3, 4. And as she switches those in front of my eyes, I'm making a decision which one of these lenses is better and which one's is worse. That's how I see the political climate. Now you say that they're both bad. Hey, I concur. Is this better or is this worse? Do I eat? Do I have a roof over my head? Can I feed my family? Can I be out of the cold, or am I going to be homeless? Those are the things that this next election is all about, because you have a deranged individual. Now, let's get to text. We have a Saul-like individual who is busy trying to destroy a person who is righteous and has been selected by the Most High to lead Israel, and he is a fugitive of the nation of Israel. And we have an individual in Saul whom text says the Most High has given him an evil spirit.
Agreed.
So now we have to look and say, well, has the Most High incited this man who wants to get back in the White House and do damage with an evil spirit? I don't think so.
Why do you say that?
I think he was born that way.
Really?
Yeah.
That could not possibly be a move of the Most High. From his inception to where he is right now, one could say he was groomed to push you Hebrews into a state to where you actually are going to listen to the Most High, because it's going to get bad.
And here's my problem. I get you, but here's my problem with that. As I said earlier, for me, if the Hebrew nation of Israel was not fractured and did not have and still suffers from a crab syndrome, and we were a collective body of people in these United States who can make some noise, it would be different. I say let's go Most High, because here's the issue. Reason I say that, if I look at the historical account of Hebrew Israel when they're oppressed by an enemy and they're in right standing with the Most High, I can hear the Most High say these words: I am going to give you the victory. But in this case, it didn't make any difference if Joshua and Caleb were righteous and the rest of them fools was jacked up. Joshua and Caleb went into captivity with them fools.
Agreed. They were right there with him. Worked with him. Absolutely. Let me ask you a question real quick, because we've been speaking in some generalities thus far. What have you been seeing or can alert us to that in specificity that's coming out of this group that gives you so much reason for pause? What is being said specifically? Like, our agenda is X and X.
The agenda of this evil administration is to completely erode what we know as a democratic nation.
To become
under the influence of a dictator, to the point that I say I'm going to establish rule and I'm going to establish order by policy and not by Congress. And anybody who doesn't follow my orders, I'll fire them. And I have the power to fire them. That's an erosion of our democracy. You have a fundamental religious order out there that is siding with him. The fear in my mind is that with right-wing religious orders and this religious order of people who are following this wickedness, and our democracy is eroded. If your democracy is eroded, your freedoms are eroded, and your possibilities of being ruled by a government that's running its order based on their religious ideas. I mean, you've got a speaker in the House that he's a Bible thumping, Bible slapping individual, but he is also ingrained with the lie.
I don't disagree with anything you say. My question is, as a young Hebrew, what you mentioned earlier is that there's a fear of what is to come for our family, right?
Yeah.
And I totally understand that. But how does someone like me, who does not want fear to enter his body, for one, how is an individual like me supposed to operate? So this is my thing, is that I don't think that voting is a bad thing. What you said. We have the opportunity to make a decision. But I don't think that we should be as dependent on the government as we are. And maybe if we thought to be more self-sufficient, that these fears would not be fears, and that we could actually depend on the Most High, even through captivity.
But that goes back to my point.
Okay.
Do you know how vast Hebrew Israel is, even in this United States of America?
Being big?
Yes.
I have no idea.
And they don't even know that they're Hebrew Israel.
Right.
They don't even know how to come together as a people and learn how to depend upon the Most High. They don't even know who to pray to.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know where to go for a spiritual answer other than to fall on their knees and pray to Jesus. And that violates Joel, who says that when these terrible times come, they that call upon the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. So my thought is, I'm not speaking in a tone of fear. I'm speaking in a tone of concern.
Agreed.
And my concern is that you can't cry foul after the horse is out the barn if you had a chance to keep the door shut. You can't cry foul if things go south and your family or some members of your family are affected because they've lived their lives dependent upon a government source who does not, I can't use the word, who doesn't give doo-doo about them.
Mm-hmm.
When there is a party that at least has compassion, doesn't make them great. There's a difference. You don't have to be great to show compassion for humanity.
And maybe this is my young
because I was getting ready to go there because I'm in the middle of you two.
Do you want to do it?
No, I mean this is very cathartic because we're seeing two generational thoughts meld together within this confines of what we do here as Hebrews that are in exile, where there's, and Go ahead. Pose your question, please. I'm not supposed to be talking anyway.
No, you are. It's okay.
I mean, because the issue is that in this exile, it is our duty to occupy.
Yes, and I agree with you. My only thing is what you're explaining, I feel like that's going to happen in that's going to happen. Now, this is me speaking. What you're explaining, which has been explained in text, is going to happen.
Yes.
Regardless.
Yes.
And I'm not saying I'm trying to speed up the Most High. But just from what I see, the Democratic Party doesn't really care either. But what they are good at is showing you or acting like they do.
Well, I'd rather have somebody act like they do and somebody at least demonstrate that from what I have seen in my 82 years of being on this planet, that I would rather have corn than to have a famine when corn is available, because of a people that's more compassionate about their people than a people who have so much that they absolutely don't care.
Well, my thing is that
they don't care. They don't care if your baby don't have no milk.
I agree.
They don't care. They don't care if the people that are supposed to protect this nation don't get paid. They don't care if those people that don't get paid have families back home who are dependent, who can't feed their babies and don't have a roof over their head to do. They don't care, which is different than the other side. The other side at least has that compassion, and they've shown that compassion. For me, that's my concern. Now I'm going to get back to my issue. If we were a Hebrew nation that was together in the authority of the Most High, this conversation would be altogether different.
Okay.
We'd rally.
But what about
we'd rally the Most High, because we could say, Most High, we are in this exile, and we are walking according to your ways and we're walking in your authority. I would be listening for the Most High to give the order. And Sean brought it up the other day. What if the Most High told us to do A? What do you think it would be like? If the Most High told us to do A, he would also validate that A and tell us, I'm giving you. I'm going ahead of you and I'm giving you. It's over. For me, it would be over. I'd be like Caleb. I'd be like, let's go. Hey, let's go. Let's do a how many ever number of Hebrews that's in this nation, let's go march on that White House and let's make it brown again.
So do you want to hear a young Hebrew with no fear? When I hear what you say, I think about when we go to I think this is Joshua. Is this Deuteronomy 32 and 30? How could one have chased 1,000? Is that Deuteronomy? Or is that in Joshua?
Go ahead and read it.
How could one have chased 1,000 and two have put 10,000 to flight, unless the rock has sold them and the Lord and Yahweh has given them up?
Unless they're what?
Unless their rock has sold them.
Sold them? Sold them?
That's what it said here.
No, I bring you.
SODE, sold them, and Yahweh had given them up. So I hear what you say.
Because what you just read there.
I don't know if I'm springboarding here. I hope I'm not springboarding.
No, one could chase 1,000, but the one that can chase 1,000 can only chase 1,000 with the power and the source of the Most High leading the chase.
Yes, of course. I agree. But I was bringing that up in regards to how you said it brings concern on what a change of power in this specific, instance of time could do to our people. And I am very concerned about that. But if I read in text that it's going to happen anyway, I don't see why I should necessarily
When?
So
I agree with what he's saying.
So
when?
This is what's interesting about what he's saying.
When that happens, you will be in the grave.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree.
I will be in the grave. And my only concern is to, once again, I'm gonna get back to my concern. My concern is not fear. My concern is that I absolutely know beyond a reasonable doubt what's going to happen to our people.
I agree.
And
it's there.
And there will be no salvation for them in this climate, and it will take them years to recover. I don't want to see my people that don't need to be homeless. I don't want to see babies that don't need to go hungry. I don't care. That will devastate me.
I don't think we have a choice.
Just like Sean and I a few weeks ago, I came in here with tears, man. I says, I can't take it anymore.
I agree. I just don't think we have a choice.
Well, I do. I think we do. And that's my point. I think we do.
Okay.
See, I can see it from both sides of the coin from what you both the gentlemen are saying. And I get back to that generational thing that I was talking about. It's because at the end of the day, these things, like you said, are going to have to happen. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of whether or not do you want to go through this with no pain, and comfort, or do you want to go through this with some discomfort? It's kind of pick and choose between the two. And I can see what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And I can see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. You're saying, well, why should I care at the end of the day? You know why? Because, listen, it's in text. It's going to happen at the end of the day. If you look at the history of our people, the only time our people wake up is when the Most High is pressing, has his full regalia on, and he's pressing us horribly. Let's go back to text when we have to go back to Mitzrayim, because Mitzrayim is the calling card for the Most High. He says, listen, I'm the one that brought you out of Mitzrayim. But what happened in Mitzrayim? We were slaves in Mitzrayim. Our ancestors were slaves. And it was because we got pressed so hard. Mm-hmm. That government that was in place was a dictatorship and a theocracy at that point. Mm-hmm. And it said, I'm going to make your life hard. And it was only because they had cried out that the Most High delivered them. But the point is that they were all on one accord when that happened. If you look at the history of our people, we get off base all the time. And what does the Most High do? No matter how hard it gets, we don't listen. So it's the issue of, okay, I guess what I'm listening to both of you pontificate about is, do we want to go through this? His point, do we want to go through this in comfort and make the turn? Or do we want to go through this with some type of angst, which I agree with what you're saying, because I don't give a darn about this government at all. Be quite honest with you.
I can't.
They've got so much going on that at the end of the day, I realize that ignoring it and sticking my head in the sand like an ostrich is not the right answer. I have to be cognizant and aware of what's going on.
Of course, I agree.
When I look at our prophets, even if I look at the weeping prophet, which is Jeremiah, what is he doing? The whole entire time, he's preaching to a people that don't want to listen.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. We are in the midst of preaching to a people who don't want to listen. And if I continue to listen and read through the prophets, the Most High brought grief upon Israel.
Yeah.
Grief upon Israel. And they still would not listen.
Right.
He brought turmoil upon them, and they still wouldn't listen. So if I just excuse all of this and say, okay, let's sit back and do nothing. Let's just do nothing. Now we're watching the devastation that's happening to Hebrew Israel, whereby if we'd have done something, it's bad, but it's not that bad.
Well, I think too. I don't want my my view to come off as let's sit back and do nothing. My take on it is, instead of sitting back and do nothing, let's be more active in our laws ruling.
But here's my question. When you say we, who's we?
Which is getting back to what I said earlier, is that we have people that doesn't want to listen, because I totally get where you're coming from, which is this aspect of, hey, let's focus on the things that are germane to Hebrew Israel. Whatever is going on is what's going on. I can't deny the fact that I live in exile and I live in a country that has dictatorship and rulership over me. I can't deny that. Deniable plausibility with that. But I can, and that's why I'm saying I'm seeing the middle road between this. Not to say that you guys are arguing about anything. We're just having a discussion. I'm just saying that on the one hand, yes, let's do it in comfort.
Yes.
But at the same time, we still need to be preaching the lesson to people to say, hey, listen, this is not the end all be all. We don't need to depend on a government for the things that we need. We depend on the Most High for everything that we need. So therefore, let's start instantiating in our minds. That's why I think 1985 introduced this thing called the World Wide Web, where knowledge was increased, where we talk about it all the time in the book of Daniel. The Most High is starting this early enough to where our descendants will be prepared. So when it comes to the time when they have to go through this, they have the mindset already that they're not dependent on a government. They're not dependent on the land that the government produces. They can produce their own food. They can do their own stuff. And when the Most High says move, there isn't this apprehension about, well, I'm stuck on the United States, or I'm stuck in the UK and I like it here. No, we have to continue to keep preaching this, or at least teaching the next generation that you cannot be so tied to the hip in exile that you can't move.
And I think that's where, I don't think we disagree. I just think that because of, for one, what you guys have taught, I mean, it's kind of hard to just sit here and be like, let's involve myself in the government, but I understand it is a mitzvah too.
I mean,
well, let me give you an example.
Be in this land and occupy it and be a part of the law system.
Let me go back to an example that I gave, just adding to the discord. When Moshe went and spoke to Paro, he spoke as a diplomat and an emissary for the people. So he was involved in government. They had a foreman that was there, that was instantiated to speak on the behalf of this group of people. That was the representative. So Hebrew Israel being absent from the government is not something that, at least we can say through text. We have examples, and a great example, because the Most High always uses Mitzrayim to say, listen, if we go through what you guys went through over there, you had a representative, and I sent my master representative to tell that dude, Paro, what was getting ready to happen.
Okay.
So in using those types of things, we've always been involved in government. When the three Hebrew boys, which is not Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I forget their names, whatever the names were. Forgive me for not having it in front of me. They were told off because they were the elect. They were the elite of the elite, and they were put in the position of government. And that's where we've always been. I think we brought it up on a different podcast.
Daniel said it sat in the seat of government.
Yeah, we are always involved where we are.
In an exiled nation.
Yes.
And have authority.
Great point.
What's our problem? Our problem is we do not have those kinds of people in a position to be able to sit in those places.
Agreed.
We're sitting here. We have less than 500 followers on all of our platforms.
Probably combined. Right.
Okay? And you're talking about we. No, we're still pushing the envelope. And I'm going to continue to push the envelope of compliance with the Most High. But until Hebrew Israel comes on board as a number of people that are concerned and we quit crying out to a demigod,
facts,
we're going to be afflicted. Now, from my position, I'm saying, I can't use that word.
Why not? You can say fulsome damn.
Until these people get on board, my task is to look for the more comfortable position and say to you all, you need to vote for the lesser evil because when things go sideways, and they will, they will.
Yeah.
Your mothers that are working for the government, your husbands and your sons and your daughters that are dependent upon the government to survive are not going to survive. It's going to be 4 years of famine, and it's going to take them another 48 years to recover. Some of them are not going to recover when I'm saying that isn't necessary. Unless the Most High says it's necessary. So what do I need to do? I need to act like a viceroy in this nation, and I need to support that which I think is a lesser evil than the other. And if the Most High anoints that, then I say good. If he doesn't anoint it, I go okay. But at least I did my part, and I can sit back and say, now it's not up to me anymore. It's up to the Most High. Now we have a message and a lesson to teach and a cry to make that then perhaps Hebrew Israel in exile may, I doubt it. I doubt it. And the reason I doubt it is because the time is not yet.
Not gonna like me for this.
The time is not yet.
I don't disagree.
One of the issues of defining the time not being yet, there's not a famine for the word of the Most High. You saw the video.
And boy, howdy.
Did you see the video?
I did.
Did you see how many Negroes was in that building?
Yeah, I wish I could unsee it, but yeah. I saw it, the convocation center was packed.
And you have to realize that this is multiplied all over this United States every Sunday, and they don't have a doggone clue. They don't have a clue. If democracy is eroded, where one man can dictate and define the political outcome that trickles down to where you and I live, where people that already hate me can arrest me just because they don't like me, No, I'm sorry. I'm not down with that.
I mean, I don't think anyone is down with that.
I'm not down with that. I'm not down with putting myself, my family, my sons, my daughters, my grandchildren, my grandchildren's grandchildren. I'm not down with putting them in that position. If it was just me and I just had nobody but me to worry about, no.
Even still with that.
Yeah, no.
No, I don't disagree with that. I just bring a perspective of it's hard for me to, I'm not going to say care, because I do care about people, but as far as the outcome, I feel like the way that America is set up, like you said, there's a time for everything. And for Hebrews, it has to get worse before it gets better. And
yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
You may know.
No.
But me personally,
Yes.
I don't know when that time is.
No, don't know. Let me put it this way. It's a progression.
Yes.
The Most High ratchets up the pressure in a progression, hoping that they will turn. Listen to me good. Listen to me good. We are so far away from Hebrew Israel abdicating Jesus Christ till it probably won't happen. And it won't happen, it probably might not even happen then. It won't happen until, let me get it.
I would say till hell freezes over, but hell don't exist. So
Let me get it.
Then in that case, it would never happen.
it never happened.
Come on.
It's an interesting concept and ideation to have, because you want to constantly separate yourself, because we do realize that we are ruled by a theocracy. We're ruled by the Most High, and the Most High is a theocracy, and we live in a democracy, and a lot of things are that affect us on a day-to-day basis. We try to separate ourselves and be governed by the Most High. Pure, unadulterated teaching of the Most High, and it's difficult for us. But at the same time, I mean, like I said, I can see both sides of the story. Do you want to ride in the front seat, or do you want to ride in the trunk? We both gonna get there at the same time. It's like riding on a plane. You want to ride in first class? You have an opportunity. If I opened up the doors and I said, you know what, if at the end of the day you had an opportunity to pick whatever seat that you wanted on the flight, do you want to sit in the cockpit? You want to sit in first class, or do you want to sit underneath the plane with the luggage?
I definitely want to sit first class. And for those watching, I am not telling anybody to not vote. Okay, that is not.
No. Yeah, and we're not.
Just in case if you guys have any of those thoughts, I am not saying do not vote. I am simply explaining a younger generation's thoughts and opinions based on text and what I have seen as why I feel that people don't vote for certain reasons, and maybe you guys can relate to that. One of the reasons why I don't vote is some of the reasons I explained earlier, but I do think that if you live here, you should vote based off of this conversation, okay? Because of what was explained here.
Yeah. Lamont, I see you out there, son, and I wholeheartedly agree with the text that you've put up in Proverbs chapter 9, verse 9, about a wise man and being wiser and teaching just. I had it up here a minute ago, but now I'm over here in Daniel. I'll come back to it.
Where do you have it? What did he say?
Proverbs 9 and 9. Let's just go there for a minute, and then I'll come back to Daniel.
Okay.
Proverbs 9 and 9. Where's my Proverbs? Here it is, right here.
Hey, okay, so here's a pop quiz.
Proverbs.
Who wrote most of the Proverbs?
That's
Shlomo.
an easy one.
Shlomo. So who is Shlomo? And Shlomo is
Solomon.
Shlomo is David's son. And David is famous for writing most of the
Proverbs.
Psalms.
Yes.
But let's go back to Lamont. Let's go back to verse 8. If you reprove a scoffer, he will hate you. There you have it. I place the Republican Party in the context of scoffers. Give to a wise man, and he grows still wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will learn still more. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the holy ones is understanding. For with me your days will be increased, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom helps you. But if you scoff, you bear the consequences alone. So in the context of all that I've been saying tonight, we're not dealing with wise people. How come I smell cigarette smoke?
I'm burning, huh?
Yeah. How come we're not dealing with wise people here on either side of the aisle? But we're dealing with more of a scoffer on one side than we are the other side. Now, let me go back to Daniel chapter 12. It reads, not one, come on, Daniel chapter 12. It reads, and it starts with these words, when that time comes. Whenever you see in text it talking about when that time comes, the Most High is talking about the beginning of the redemptive period. Because what has to usher in the redemptive period and what the Christian church calls the Great Tribulation. Okay? Most High talked about no great tribulations. He says, when the time comes, Michael, the great prince who champions your people, that's Hebrew Israel, will stand up, and there will be a time of distress unparalleled between the time they became a nation and that moment. We're not there yet. We're so far away from that particular point in time till it's not even imaginable in my mind what that's going to look like.
Do you think Trump could instill that?
No.
Okay. Or start that?
No. And why? And why do I say that? Huh?
Smells like something's burning.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Maybe it's outside.
And why do I say that? I say that because there are certain things that have to transpire within the mind or within the consciousness of the Most High. The Most High says, I have defined and I have told you the end from the beginning. And the things that I have declared will come to pass, but they're going to come to pass within a time frame. Every dispensation of time has a time frame of somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 years. We are just in the beginning of this final 1,000-year time that is germane to this 6th day that we're living in that's called grace. We're in the final stages of 1,000 years that have to do with that. That began in 1985, in my opinion, with the opening of the World Wide Web, which corresponds here in Daniel, that says, but you, Daniel, keep these secrets and seal up the book until the time of the end. Many will rush here and there as knowledge increases. Well, knowledge didn't increase until 1985 in the world. Okay? So now we go back up here and we go back to the prophecy. He says, when that time comes, there will be a time of distress unparalleled. Our ancestors who came to this country via the transatlantic slave trade could have read the same text and said that it was now. Because for them, that was an unparalleled time. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have gotten any worse. It couldn't have gotten any worse for Hebrew Israel as it was then. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have gotten any worse for Hebrew Israel when our ancestors in this nation were being hung. And we have a song by my girl, Strange Fruit, and we have
strange fruit hanging from the
black
trees.
People being treated like they were not even humans. Even to this very day, it's the same thing. It's just a different climate. We're not there yet. Can he usher it in? No, he can't usher it in. You know why? It's not the time. The only thing that he can do in what I'm seeing could happen would be to ratchet up the pressure. Here, now watch it. Ratchet up the pressure, and we're gonna do like the eagles in the nest. We're gonna squirm, and we're gonna find another comfortable spot. I don't care how bad it gets. We're gonna find another comfortable spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, even if it's a lesser evil, we're still always going to be adjusting to a comfortable spot. The only thing I don't want to see as a senior individual, I don't want to see my people in a state of helplessness that they don't need to be in if it's not the Most High's will.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
And for me, on my part, I want to side on the part to say, at least I did my part to help that not to happen. And if it was the Most High's will that Agent Orange should get back into the chair and rain havoc on this nation and on our people, then I say, okay, so be it.
I agree with you.
So be it.
I just, like, when I read text and I see that, the Most High even tells us that he has put these nations over us because of
our rebellion.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I look at, this is one of the things we brought up earlier, one of the amendments in the Constitution that says that you have the right to abolish the government. Me as a Hebrew is conflicted with that, because if I say, okay, the Most High, if you have put these people here on top of us with this law that says you have the right to abolish it, why should I have any fear of what's to come?
It's not fear. Okay. I'm not fearing anything.
No, I'm not saying you're fearing.
No, my position is just, I'm not fearing anything. I'm more concerned. See, for me personally, I could be very selfish and say, so be it, you Negroes. You Hebrews, we've been preaching to you and talking to you about the Most High's laws and what you do, and you've turned a deaf ear, so be it.
Right.
But I can't do that.
Patience.
See, because I'm in the house of protection and I'm covered by the Most High, and I know that my ways please him, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know that in text, Daniel and his young brothers, Joshua, Caleb, Jeremiah, all those people went into captivity because the whole of the mass of Hebrew Israel was stubborn, stiff-necked, and hard-headed. However, I look at that and I say, okay, they went into captivity, but they did not suffer in captivity. Daniel didn't suffer in captivity. 3 Hebrew boys didn't suffer in captivity. As a matter of fact, they proved the Most High in captivity.
Wait a minute. There's another one. We're forgetting out a huge one. A huge one.
Who?
Come on.
Come
He's
on.
huge. He's huge.
Not Joseph?
Joseph.
Yeah.
Joseph is one of those folks that went into captivity. You could technically say he went into captivity. He was sold into captivity, and then he rose to the highest annals of government to actually run.
I can stand on the point of saying I walk with the Most High. I walk in His mitzvos. And He told me if my ways please me, He'd give me the desires of my heart. He also told me that there was no weapon formed against me that could prosper. He told me that. But that fits me.
Of course, right.
That don't fit them rockheads.
Of course.
And I'm trying to holler at you rockheads. You Negroes better get out and vote until you get on board.
Facts.
You know what you sound like right now? No, you sound like
Farrakhan.
No, you don't.
Who?
You sound like a Hebrew, a very prominent Hebrew. Mm-hmm. It's this prominent Hebrew that I know of. He preached for 120 years.
Noah.
And exactly. And that's I think where you're getting at is that because I know what the Most High has instantiated, I know that I'm building salvation here called an ark to save everybody. It doesn't mean that I stop talking because of the fact that they're not listening.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'm going to preach for 100 or teach or do whatever I need to do, get into a chat room or whatever for 120 years till these people get it. And then what? Even to the last day, he still had to have a resolve at the end that says, I'm sorry.
I can't help you.
End. I can't help you.
I can't help you.
But see, here's another point that I actually wanted to springboard off of, based off of what you guys are talking about, was, and it's more leaning towards the lines of where you're going with your statements, which is, I'm deeply concerned about the fact that when these things do happen, that our people will, especially what you're talking about, if this group gets in power, whatever group gets in power, they're not going to do too much nothing. One's going to be obviously worse than the other. But our people won't know who to call on.
No.
They will actually be sitting out there calling on this false demigod to have them come save them. And what's really egregious about that is that we understand where our help comes from. Right. And so therefore, and we have a reasonable explanation as to why the things are happening, that it's prophetic as to why it's happening, and what answers you can look for things to come. This Christ individual offers nothing. And they're going to continue to exude this cognitive dissonance for insanity.
My Lord and Jesus Christ. Oh, come on. I'm old.
So that's the concern, is that we're going to get to a point where if we do nothing or we do something, they're still going to be calling on this idol to get them out of a situation that we put ourselves in, and they won't have a clue how to get out of it. And they'll be blaming, they'll be looking around. Well, maybe if we pray a little harder, maybe if we have another prayer vigil, maybe if we have come down here, read our text more, or maybe if we do whatever. We fly our flags higher or do whatever we need to do, or just scream louder. Right. It's not going to do anything unless people start acquiescing to what's in the text. And that's where my biggest grievance is coming from, is to say, when these things start happening now, how are our people going to react? And they're going to do what they're always going to do, which is a knee-jerk reaction, which is to depend on the God of this nation.
The only salvation for Hebrew Israel, when they do wake up, is to adhere to Torah for Hebrews in exile.
And that's the answer.
Your salvation resides in Torah for Hebrews in exile. And understanding how the Most High works, what His desires are, and realize that your only hope for salvation, and when I talk about salvation, I'm talking about deliverance from the oppressors. The Most High speaks. Matter of fact, I'm teaching through the redemptive books of the book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah, and the Most High has spoken very clearly what he is going to do to the nations that have oppressed Hebrew Israel in exile. And I know what the end is going to be. See, if I didn't have a clue what the end was going to be, then I'd be scared.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I know what the end is going to be. I know how the end is going to come about. I just know it's not now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the sad part about that is that when our people, when their definition of what the end is going to be is totally different.
Totally different.
Because what they're going to be looking for is some dude to come out of the sky to come save them from something
and
that's not going to even happen.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
That's when we get back to text. The Most High says, when that time comes. Mm-hmm. Anytime he starts talking about redemption, he says, when that time comes. What time? Well, when the time that I get ready to redeem you, this is going to happen. He gives us specific signs of what to look for. It's not nothing foreign. He gives us specific things to look for of what's going to happen when that time comes. And I'm just saying to you, until that time comes, I need to occupy whether the cushion is soft or whether the cushion is hard. I need to occupy, and as have concern and compassion for those who don't even know how to have compassion. I need to have concern for those who don't even know how to help themselves. I need to have some sense of voice to tell you, until you wake up, you need to do something to at least make your way in this exile nation not be as oppressive as it could be. There's a lesser oppression. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be in the fire if you don't need to be in the fire, mm-hmm. unless the Most High says you're going to be in the fire. Mm-hmm. And if you can prevent yourself from doing that by simply putting a mark on a ballot, then I say to you, mm-hmm. do that. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't and it goes sideways, I'm going to say it again. You don't have the right to complain. If your uncle, your auntie, your mama, your daddy, your brother, who is dependent upon this government, can't feed his family, and you can't do this, and you had an opportunity to possibly make a change, and it doesn't happen, you do not have the right to complain. Don't have the right. Shut up. Because when you had an opportunity to go to the ballot box and maybe make your voice heard, which could have altered the outcome, and you didn't, you can't complain. You got no right. Most High or no Most High, you got no right. That's all I'm saying.
Which is good.
That's all I'm saying.
Which is good. Which I think everybody sitting on this stage right now can agree with the fact that, irrespective of what happens to this country or whoever's running this country, is that our resolve is in the Most High. Period.
I saw my people when they almost shut down the government this last time. I saw my people in anguish. And they did not have a clue what to do. That broke my heart. I saw them in anguish. I don't know what I'm going to do. I got bills to pay. I can't pay my rent. I can't buy food for my child. I can't do this. And they're saying there's shit. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm going, wow. And You multiply that over by the numbers of people that it will affect, and it's going to be devastating. Will they know who to call upon? No, they won't. Will they be able to go to their church and their pastors help them? No.
Right.
Their pastors can't help them.
That's right. Yeah. I thought the church was supposed to give us food and to help us out. Not this one.
Yeah, we see that.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I realize that that's going to be the state. And for me, that will absolutely break my heart.
Agreed. Right, for everyone.
It'll break my heart. I wish, as we come to a close on this podcast, I don't know who's listening. I don't know who of you out there listen to our podcast. We are a small fish in the pond. Our voice is not a national voice. It's not an international voice where anybody from the news media is going to call us for a comment. They go to the purple and gold people because they've made the most noise, and they think that they're the credible people to speak for the Most High. They're not. They're not.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You know, maybe the Most High is doing something for us. Maybe he's hiding us for a specific period of time, or a time in which that we can be more relevant. I don't know. This I do know. I know that every time we sit before these mics, whether it's on podcast or whether it's on Sabbath, I know that we speak the truth of the Most High without any inhibition and without no fear. And we tell the people what thus says the Most High. We speak out of the voice of a prophet. I know that. So, if tonight's podcast hasn't been, no, I'm not even going to say that. This has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Johan Tate.
Hey.
What are you going to be Sean Appleton? And Sean Appleton, and this has been Hebrews in Exile.